Okay, hi Danny. This is something a little bit different, and this is called an investigation instead of a lesson. So it's just it's kind of like a lesson, but it's a little bit more detailed. We go into a lot more detail and explanation because it's something kind of new, except I just asked you about it and I know that you already know some of it. So I'll go through it, and the nice thing is that there's no homework with it. We're just going to do it together on this video, okay? So the first thing that it goes over is a line and a line segment. So this right here, let me change colors so I can show you. This is a line, and it's a mathematical line, so it has two arrows on each end, and that means that it continues on forever in both directions. And then a line segment is basically just a part of a line. So I can start here and maybe we could call that point A. And then I could end here and we could call that point B. And in between those points is a line segment, okay? So a line segment is a part of a line, and it does have ends because it starts at A and it ends with B. So that's a line segment, and then the line goes on forever. So to turn that into a number line is where first you start by making a line. So the line is the same, and then it has the two arrows on each end, and that part is the same. But you'll notice it's different. It has these little marks, and these are called tick marks. And the tick marks are usually an equal distance between each other. So there's an equal space in between every tick mark. And then what you do is you label the tick marks with some sort of number. Okay, so we might do, let's see, we might do like 0 here. And then you could do 1, 2, 3 like that. And then you could even do negative numbers on the other side, right? So that's a number line. It has tick marks, and all the tick marks are labeled. Okay, so I think you understand that. Let's go to example 1. Example 1 wants to know what number is the arrow pointing to. So the trick to figuring out these problems is to look at these values that they give to us. Like right here is 5, and right here is 10, and over here is 0. Okay, so this time we're not counting, let's see, it doesn't give you each little tick mark. You have to kind of figure out what those are. So I will look at the 0 and I'll look at the 5 and I'll think, well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's enough space in between where I can count by ones. So if I wanted to fill it in, I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that works. But they're not going to all be ones. Sometimes you count by twos or something like that. But in this situation, it looks like each tick mark has a value of 1. So then what you do is you just count over to all the way where the arrow is. And if we wanted to start at 0, we would start right here, right? And then we'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so I know that it starts at 7, or it ends at 7, sorry. So the answer is that the arrow is pointing to number 7. Or it could be like 7 centimeters or something. It doesn't really tell you what unit it is. Okay, let's go to example 2 because it gets a little bit more complicated here. And here it wants to know what number is the arrow pointing to, but look at the numbers that they give us. There's a 0 here, and then a 4 and an 8 and a 12. So I know that I can't count by ones because there's only one tick mark in between the 0 and the 4. So what I'm going to do to figure that out is I'm going to say, well, I have a 0 here and a 4 here. What's halfway between 0 and 4? 4 divided by 2 is going to be 2. So then it helped me figure out that every tick mark in this number line is counting by 2s. So I can start here and go 0. Oops, I don't want it straight, I want it curved. So I'm going to go 0 to 2, 4, 6. And then just to be extra sure, I'm going to keep going to make sure I land on the same number that they give us, right? So if I go to the next one, it's 8. Yep, that's right. then I would expect this to be 10, and I would expect that to be 12, and it is. So I think I got it right. So the final answer is going to be 6. This is pointing to the number 6. All right, let's do example number 3. Now, it's definitely getting trickier here because the numbers that they give us are 40, 60, and 80. But I'm going to do sort of the same thing. What's halfway between 40 and 60? Do you know, Danny?
Halfway between 40 and 60?
Yeah.
That's like halfway between.
I know, I asked it in a tricky way.
50.
Yeah. So if you count by tens, in between 40 and 60, it would be 50.
Oh, I'm so dumb.
So I'm going to put 50 right there, and it goes with that tick mark. But if you don't know that, what you could do is you could count by ones and see if that works. So let's start here with 40, and let's count by ones. 41, 42, 43, 44. Nope, that does not work because this does not say 44, it says 60. Okay, so I'm going to erase that. Now, let's try and count by a different number. How about counting by twos? 40, 42, 44, 46, 48. Nope, I didn't get to 60, so I'm going to erase that again. And let's try something else. Let's count by fives. 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. Did that do it? Yeah, it did. So now I have figured out that every tick mark is equal to 5, okay? And then if I start with 40 and count by fives, then I get 40, 45, 50, 55. So then I land here at 55, and I know that that's the number that the arrow is pointing to. All right, now let's do some of these problems. I just sort of took a picture and copied it from the page, so you can follow along on your page and you can take notes if you want to, okay? So it says, what number is each arrow pointing to? And here we have the 0, 10, 20, 30. These are the ones they're giving us. So it looks like they're counting by tens in the value that they give you, but there are other tick marks in between that we need to figure out what those are. Okay, so I know that halfway between 0 and 10 is 5, so that's one way to do it, but the other way is to just try it. Try counting by ones, and it won't get you all the way to 10, but if you count by fives, it will get you to 10, right? So 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And I know that that's 25, and just to be sure to sort of see that if I got the right answer, let's keep going, 35, 40, 45, 50. Yep, so that is correct, and this is pointing to 25. All right, let's do the next problem. What's the arrow pointing to here? Now here there's a lot more tick marks in between 0 and 10 and in between 10 and 20. Let's count the tick marks. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could do 10 divided by 5, and that's 2, and that'll tell you that they're actually counting by twos there. But if you don't know that, you could just try it and figure it out. So if you count by ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you don't make it all the way to 10, okay? So let's try counting by twos. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yep, and if that got it right. And so let's keep going to the arrow. 12, 14, 16. So I know that the answer there is 16. Okay, let's go to number 3. Ooh, this one's a little tricky because they give you the number 0 and then the number 100. And let's count how many tick marks are in between. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Zach is wondering where I am. Danny, will you go tell him that I'm in my room and he can come in here if he wants to?
Okay, where is he?
I don't know.
Oh.
Just go find him.
Sorry for bothering you.
Sorry, future Danny. Okay. So that goes from 0 to 100, so it goes a total of 100 spaces, and there are 10 tick marks. If I divide, I know that each tick mark has a value of 10. So I know they're going to be counting by tens. But again, you can just try it. If you don't know that, you can just do trial and error. And what if you count by fives? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. I only got to 50, not to 100. So that can't be right. So let's try it again and count by tens this time, because I already figured it out that it was by tens. So let's try it. 10, 20, 30, 40. I'm just going to put a 40 there just to remind me that that's where I landed. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So we did it. And the answer is going to be 40. All right, let's look at the next one. The next one, another tricky one. It gives you a value of 60, a value of 80, and a value of 100. So what are the tick marks going to be? If you want to figure out my way by dividing the way you did before, you would have to figure out the distance that this is between 60 and 80. So 80 minus 60, which is equal to 20. And then divide that by the number of tick marks. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I know that each tick mark is going to be 5. But if you didn't know that, let's just try to count by tens. Okay, so 60, 70, 80, and I get 80 here. So that doesn't work because the 80 is over here. Let's try something else. Let's count by twos. 60, 62, 64, 66, 68. That doesn't work either. So let's use this 5 because I kind of already know that every tick mark is 5. So 65, 70, 75, 80. So that works. 85. So then I know that this is at 85. That's the final answer. Okay, the next concept goes over positive and negative numbers. And this is going to be, let's see, on page 41 if you're following along. And you can plot positive and negative numbers on a number line. That's the way you should do it. And you can use where they're plotted to compare two numbers with each other. So obviously, if you start here in the middle at 0, you can count to the right from there and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And those are all positive numbers. If you go to the left of 0, you get -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Okay, so a couple things to point out here. This is sort of the line at 0 that divides positive numbers that are to the right of 0 and negative numbers that are to the left of 0. And the other thing that you can do when you compare numbers is that, and this is super interesting, if it's more to the right, then that number is greater. That number is greater. So that means that if I compare 5 and 3, 5 is more to the right, so 5 is the bigger number. And that is true even for negative numbers. So if I'm comparing -2 and -5, -2 is more to the right, so that's a bigger number than -5. And if you think about it, you know that that's true. Because if you have -$5, that means you owe somebody $5, and that's not good. I'd rather owe somebody $2 because owing them $2 gets me closer to 0 or closer to not owing them anything at all, which is a good thing. All right, let's go to example 4. This is on page 41 if you're following along. It says use words to write this. And it's a -10, but when I say it out loud, those are the words that you write down. So the answer is -10. And then the next example says use digits to write -12. So they want us to use symbols and digits to write that out. So it would be negative 12, and that's the answer. Okay, what about example 5? Write the next 4 numbers in each counting sequence. So it left us 4 blank spaces where we can write down some numbers. So let's figure out the pattern. They gave us a 10, 8, 6, 4. So I would say that the rule here is that we're counting down by 2s. Okay. So if I keep counting down by 2s, then after that 4, it's going to be 4 minus 2 is 2. Then 2 minus 2 is 0. And then what's going to happen? Well, then we have to go to negative 2 and negative 4. Ooh, this is getting pretty tricky, isn't it, Danny? You are really going to have to use your noggin on this lesson or this investigation. This is why they call it an investigation, because I think it's a little trickier. All right, let's do part B. Part B, they give us the numbers 9, 7, 5, and 3. So again, the rule is that we're counting down by 2s. The rule is the same, except that we're just counting odd numbers here. So if we still count down by 2s, 9, 7, 5, 3, and we take away another 2, we're going to be left with 1. And then what is 1 minus 2?
1 minus 2 is negative 1.
Negative 1. What is negative 1 minus 2?
Negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3.
That's correct. What's negative 3 minus 2?
Negative 3 minus 2 is 5. Negative 5.
You got it. Okay, so obviously you know that because I just asked you. But if you didn't know it, you could go back up to this number line. And you could figure it out with this number line, right? Because you could start with 0 or actually what we started here with is negative 1. And if you subtract 2, that means going more negative 2. And then you would end up with negative 3. If you subtract another 2, you end up with negative 5. So you can use that number line to help you figure out some of these really complicated problems, okay? Let's go on to example 6. So you have to turn the page for that. And it says, to what number is the arrow pointing to? So here's the arrow. And it wants to know what's it pointing to. Well, here we have a number line that give us a value of 0 and then a 10 over here and a negative 10 here. And there's only one tick mark in between. So I know that halfway between 0 and 10 is 5. And so they're counting by 5s here. So that's easy to do on the positive side. It's a little trickier to do on the negative side, but I know you can do it if you think about it. So between 0 and negative 10, it's going to be negative 5 for that one, and then negative 15 here. So the answer on what is this pointing to is this negative 5 is the answer. Okay. Now, the next part that I'm going to kind of skip to because I think that you know this, write the number that is 15 less than 0. And it says to do it using digits and then using words. So if we were to use digits, 15 less than 0 is negative 15. And if we use words, we're just going to write down exactly what I said, which is negative 15. Sorry, my handwriting's a little bad. I was trying to go fast there. Okay, now we are going to talk about comparing. And when we compare two numbers, what you're going to put in between those two numbers is either going to be an equal sign, like, you know what that looks like, right? Like this, or it's going to be a greater than sign, or it's going to be a less than sign. And the mouth points towards the bigger number. And the way you can remember that is kind of like an alligator.
Oh, I already learned that in third grade. Ooh.
Eating the bigger thing. And in this case, it's eating the bigger thing there. That's the mouth. Scary. Oh, I don't know how to draw an alligator, so it's kind of more like a weird snake alligator. Okay, sorry.
I'm a snake.
All right, so we are going to compare 2 and negative 2. And there's a big circle there because it wants you to put a symbol inside of it, either an equal, a greater than, or less than. So what is bigger, 2 or negative 2? And if you're not sure about that, you can make a number line. And here's a number line below with a 0. And I'm going to count up to 2. So this is 2. And I'm going to put tick marks on the other side, and this is negative 2. And remember I said that the more to the right you are, the bigger you are. So 2 is greater than negative 2. That's the bigger number. So the correct sign that goes in this circle is that. It's a greater than sign. Okay, let's do example 8. It says, use words to write 5 is greater than negative 10. And the words are like exactly what I just said out loud. So I'll just write it really quick to make sure you understand. 5 is greater than negative 10. Alrighty. Let's go on to B. Use digits and symbols to write negative 3 is less than negative 2. All right, so now we're doing the opposite way. They gave us the words and they want us to write the numbers. So negative 3 is less than, that's the less than sign, less than, negative 2. All right, and that's the answer. Okay, now they give us a bunch of problems that they want us to compare. And so here's the first one. They want us to compare negative 3 and 1. So which one is bigger? Well, 1 is positive, so that one's going to be bigger. How about 3 and 2? I think you already know that 3 is bigger than 2, so you put a greater than sign there. How about 2 plus 3 and 3 plus 2? Well, if you simplify that, 2 plus 3 is 5, and 3 plus 2 is also 5. So the symbol that goes here is an equal sign. How about negative 4 and negative 5? That's trickier, but I'd rather only owe somebody $4 than $5. So negative 4 is greater. Oh, wait, did I do that wrong? No, I did that right. Let's do a number line to make sure that you did it right. Okay, so if you have 0 here, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. So negative 4 is more to the right than negative 5, so that's correct. That is the bigger number. Okay, let's go to 13. Use words to write this comparison. And so if I were putting that into words, I would say negative 1 is less than 0. Okay, those are the words. All right, let's go on to 14. Use digits to write negative 2 is greater than negative 3. All right, I can do that. Negative 2. And which one is the greater than sign? It's pointed to the left like that. Negative 2 is greater than negative 3. Perfect. All right, let's go to example 9. We are almost done now. This is the last page. And here it shows a comparison. 5 is greater than 3. And it wants us to rewrite that comparison with 3 on the left and 5 on the right. So if we rewrite the comparison, how do we have to change the sign to make that true? And since we flipped the numbers, we also have to flip the sign. Okay, so that's the answer.
Hi, future Danny.
Hi, future Danny.
How are you doing?
Now we're going to do that again. We're going to rewrite each comparison by reversing the order. So let's start with this first one. Negative 1 is less than 1. So the first thing I'm going to do is put the positive 1 on the left and the negative 1 on the right. And then I'm going to flip the sign. And is this the same as this, just reversed? Yeah, it is, because it's still showing that 1 is greater than negative 1. All right, what about this one down below? I'm going to change that so the 4 is on the left and the 2 plus 2 is on the right, but they're still going to be equal. Okay, how about the next one underneath? I'm going to get a different color so it's not too confusing. We have 0 is greater than negative 2. So here I'm going to put the negative 2 on the left, the 0 on the right, and I'm going to flip the sign so that the 0 is still greater. 0 is still the bigger number. Perfect. All right, how about down below? Down below it says 1 plus 2 over here and then 4 over here. So I'm going to put the 4 on the left, the 1 plus 2 on the right, and 4 is greater than that because that simplifies to 3, right? So I'm going to still show that 4 is greater, and that's the sign. Yes, we are done. And guess what? No homework today that goes with this investigation. We basically did it all. So another reason to be happy. Alrighty, love you,
Wait.
Danny. Yeah?
Future Danny, if you are sad or mad, just poop and you'll feel better.
Good advice. Poop and you will feel better. Love you, Danny. Bye.